So, War with the Sontarans. Rubbish. Worst story I've watched in my entire life. Just finished watching it about a minute ago, actually. It wasn't that bad. Well, it was sort of 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 3 out of, I don't know, 5 out of 10. It's okay. I still preferred the first episode because there was more variety, even though it was intercut rubbish. Didn't make any sense. Yes, this is just lots of, well, it was basically a Sontarans story. I mean, in the same way, as far as I could tell, the trailer for the next episode made it seem like that was going to be just a Cyberman story. Well, I don't know, maybe not entirely, but it wasn't really just a Sontaran story. There were the old these other people prancing around on a ship with these pyramidical things floating around. Yes, so yes, War with the Sontarans. I thought it was okay. I mean, yeah, sort of 6 out of 10. Well, it didn't really feel like a part two. It did basically seem like a new story in many ways. Same way with Genesis of the Daleks, starting with them teleporting in. It was just sort of like, well, they've just teleported to various places. I mean, they were all together at the beginning, Dr. Daniel and Yasmin, and then they all float, don't they? They all float. I mean, yeah, they teleported off. Oh, God. I mean, it wasn't the worst story I've seen in my life. That sort of standard typical rubbish, to be honest. I thought it was okay. Honestly, I'm just sort of saying this because I'm too tired to think about it now. I've just watched it. But, you know, it's 9 o'clock. It's like, late. Anyway, no, I think. Oops. Yes, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to watch it a few more times, obviously, but, you know, I like the setting, the Crimean War, nice bits of mist and rain. I liked some stuff. So Daniel's, I don't know, were they his parents or something? They just seemed to be there for getting him to the Sontaran bit. Yeah, sort of stuff happened. The bit where the armies were fighting was a bit rubbish because, well, it's fun, but, well, two things. One, there was no sign of the armies at all, no sound, and then suddenly they were just there. I know it's trying to be a bit fun, but, you know, shouldn't they have heard them marching? They're carrying these flags through the mist, the Sontarans are, but what, you don't see them until they're just there. And the other thing was, then they're firing all the lasers. The people at the back are evil army. Surely you're gonna have no idea when to attack. The flipping guy holding up the sword slings it forward. Someone standing right at the back's not gonna see that. It's flipping misty. They'll just see everyone running off in front of them and be like, "Oh, we're going, are we?" And run after them. It's like a fun run, except a bit more deadly. Well, depends. Anyway, so yes, then the lasers firing on the people. Shouldn't that just kill them? Like in Blooming Series 4, it kills someone. You don't get wounded. If a Sontaran gun hits you, you die. Even if it hits your flipping little toe, you die. You don't get like wounded. So the idea that they were going around helping the wounded didn't really fit that analogy, I thought, you know, because, well, I mean, they should have just been killed. And it wouldn't matter anyway because they'd be clearly going to lose the fight. Why would they go around trying to help? I mean, they should just run away. It was like, oh, well, we'll, you know, don't go and do that fight. You know, don't fight the Sontarans, the doctor says to the old general person. But it's like, well, what else are they going to do? Just do nothing with a whole army, run away? Like in Good Man Goes to War? Well, sort of. I'm just saying, they it's like, oh, don't fight them. And even if he said, yes, okay, we won't fight them, then what would they have done? Just sort of stand around not fighting them. Have a pacifistic you know, uprising, whatever you want to say. Anyway, it was okay. I like the bits of handheld shots showing the older Sontaran ships were quite nice looking, I thought. And the rest of it happened. The very last few bits were quite fun, where they went in the TARDIS and there was sort of stuff growing or something. It was like, oh, we've got to have something linking into the next episode, but it can't be such a big cliffhanger as last time. I'm not quite sure what happened last time. I mean, the Flux thing went into the TARDIS and then now suddenly they're in the Crimean War. It reminded me a bit of the war games, you know, in the sense that they're, well, just because they're in a war and there's various things happening. So, you know, not as good as that. Yeah, it's okay. I don't know. It didn't feel much like a continuation. Basically, it was like its own story, and then they decided later on, oh, we've got to connect them all together. So suddenly, There's a few bits linking them, but this is pretty much just a standard Sontaran story. Oh, there was a whole bit they went on about the Sontarans have. I mean, I've just watched it once. This is just my first reaction. They said something bizarre about they. Well, I can't remember, but it's like, you know, like the Ice Warriors in the Ice Warrior in Cold War, how it took the armor off. Suddenly, it turned out the Ice Warriors, it had just been a bit of armor they'd been wearing, like a suit. They said something about the Sontarans need to like fuel themselves every so often for 27 minutes or something. It's always 27, isn't it? Always. Bill was saying, John, 27 brains. This, 2 examples, that's all you need. That's probably another one somewhere. This is not whatever Star Trek was using, 43 or whatever the number that always comes up, you know. 47, isn't it? It's 47. Anyway, that's just silly though. It's more fun when they don't mean to do it. Once they put it in on purpose, it just becomes a stupid little Easter egg that's just pointless. Anyway, so, yes, I mean, their plots weren't really connected. It was just sort of like Yasmin, whether she's going around this ship, sort of fixing it, but not fixing it, just sort of wandering around talking to some people. And, yeah, and that was totally unrelated. And frankly, I'd rather play Donkey Kong Country 2. I was going to say 3, I was like, 2. Well, I haven't played 3, or hardly. I like the original though. Donkey Kong Country 1, brilliant. Just beat it earlier. Well, yesterday. Not fully. I've never done it fully. Because there's no bonus levels or anything. I mean, there's bonus stages. There's no bonus battles though. I mean, you don't know other than the bonus music. It's not like it has a B on it like in DKC2 or 3, you know, or flipping Returns in Tropical Freeze. It's obvious, but in the first one, I just like, it's a nice short little game. It's like Yoshi's Story. I mean, Yoshi's Story I've only ever done. I just do like the first level of each world. I've never bothered. I've actually tons, you know, I haven't played all the levels. I've probably played them all, but I've never gone through all of them like that properly. That light's a bit obscuring, isn't it? Anyway, yes. So, what was I saying, Doctor Who? Yeah. Yes. So, War of the Sontarans, pretty rubbish title. Why couldn't they call it something like? I mean, if it was a first Doctor story, they would have, well, it wouldn't have been made, but they would have called it just the Crimean War or something, wouldn't they? Or they would have named it after someone in the story. It would have just been. I was like that. I mean, I was thinking they wouldn't do a story now based on Marco Polo, would they? And if they did, there's no way it would be a story of them just traveling across with him. It wouldn't be like that. It wouldn't be all character. It would have to have some aliens, and it would have to be faster paced, obviously. I mean, even if it was a 2-part or whatever. And there's no way they would call it Marco Polo. I mean, if someone got close with like Vincent and the Doctor, they could have just called Vincent van Gogh or whatever. I think maybe that was a working title. I'm really not sure. Anyway, you know, Shakespeare Code. Well, it was going to be called Theatre of Doom, or possibly there was I can't remember. Wasn't there another title? Theatre of Doom, and then there was another title like maybe it was The Theatre of Doom or Theatre of Death. There was another title as well. There's contradictory sources regarding that, as I recall. Like in one book it says something, and then on Tennant's video diaries he said something else. Anyway, I just remember finding that once. Anyway, I thought it was going to be called Theatre of Doom. I swear, it had you'll find sources for another title or something else. I'm not looking at that. I'm just talking there. I'm not gonna. If I start looking stuff up during this, whatever. Anyway, great, flipping. Yeah, this is the commentary I here for. So, War of the Sontarans. Yes, I thought it was all right. I'd probably give it a 5. Well, I'd give it a 6 out of 10 because at least it had some plot and stuff happening. I mean, for Chibnall, it's pretty good going. Generally, you know, in the same way, Kablam in series 11 was the good one. It wasn't brilliant, but compared to all the rest of them, you know, compared to I'm trying to it's down there specifically. Yeah, compared to the rest of them, pardon me, it was all right. But actually, I mean, it's a pretty good story. I give it like an 8 out of 10, but it's not brilliant. But compared to the rest of them, it's good, as I keep saying. And so this, likewise, isn't brilliant, but compared to Tribunal's usual rubbish, it's actually alright. I'm not really sure what's going to happen in the next episode, other than Cybermen apparently put a weeping angel in at the end, just for the sake of it, get the moving figures in. And then the fourth one, that's called Once comma, upon time, great. Which is just stupid, because if you're going to go, well, no, if you're going to list the titles quickly, what's the first one called? Halloween Apocalypse, Wars of Sontarans, Once Upon a Time. You're not going to say Once Upon a Time, you're just going to say it quickly. So they might as well, like the Firing Squad and Blackadder goes forth, so they might as well just say Once Upon a Time, Anyway, and then Village of the Angels, right? They should call it Village of the Angles for fun. Just call it that. Have we be agents? We call it Village of the Angles, and make it. It should be quite an obtuse story to understand. I think. I was gonna say though, I'm just trying to think of more triangle-based puns, like just pause for like 30 seconds like this. I think I'm just trying to think of more triangle-based puns, like in first episode of The Office. The original. Anyway, so yes, 4 minutes of Sontarans, it was okay. It's a bit stupid how the people in the war seem to just accept, Sontarans, like it's just normal. But, the doctor was looking at the map at the beginning, and she was like, basically, because she goes here, then she goes over here, and back over here, it's like, oh my god, Russia is Sontar. Two things. One, I think if you look at the map and it's right there, you should see it instantly. I guess she wasn't looking, but she goes it's a tiny little map, just like this big, and she goes all the way over here and all the way over here just to see the place name. Why wouldn't she just see it instantly? It's a bit stupid that she had to have the finger pointing. It's like that bit they added into Two Towers Extended Edition. They added some shots of people's fingers pointing at a map to make things clearer. I believe in the extended edition only. It might be in both of them. I doubt it though. Anyway, at the end of that film, they changed the background of one of the shots as well from the theatrical cinematic version to the extended to make it. It wasn't. They thought audiences would be confused by one of the backgrounds. So you can look it up. Anyway, what was I saying? The other thing is, why would they name a country Sontar? I mean, I know they're Sontarans, but wouldn't they have called it Sontaria or something like Russia instead of just Sontar? That's like humans invading a planet and calling a country Earth. You wouldn't. They shouldn't do that. It's just confusing when they say, victory for Sontar. It's like, well, do we mean the planet? Do they do that on every country? Are they just doing that on Earth? It doesn't make any sense. Or maybe it's some sort of weird timey mix up. I'm not gonna say timey-wimey, oh dear. Anyway, where they maybe it's like this planet doesn't exist and that country, it turns out to have been their original version. It's like time's been rewritten like in the Big Bang. Anyway, should have been called The End of Time. Oh, couldn't use that title. Too bad it was used for the Darksmith Legacy. Not to mention, obviously, the episode. Anyway, yes, you reuse titles from the books. Thin Ice and all that, World of Enough and Time, those are all Big Finish audios, rather than Big Finish videos. Like Scream of the Shulker, sort of. Anyway, God, that's rubbish. Why would they bother with Scream of the Shulker? It's the worst. Well, it's not. No. I put it this way, when we were going through all of them in order, which we still are, I mean, I'm still doing it for years now, up to, series 9, and I mean I'm sort of skipping ahead a bit here, but when we were doing that, we just skipped. Well, I've seen Scream of the Shulker before, but the second time, like that in order, we just went. We watched a bit of part. I couldn't even get through part 1. It was so tedious because we knew obviously Rose was coming up soon. Obviously in order if you're doing all that, So it's just like, God, just get to flipping series 1. It's so much better. You don't want to waste your time on Scream of the Shulker. And obviously, it was for the 40th anniversary, But basically, it was pointless. I think it was, I was going to say broadcast, announced, presented, shown after it was announced that Doctor Who was going to be returning anyway, wasn't it, somewhat? So it was all just a bit underwhelming. Anyway, yes, War of the Sontarans. I don't know. The fact that I'm just rambling about other stuff shows there's not much to say about it. I mean, I have only watched it once, but it's just so sort of standard. The whole idea of the Sontarans having fuel for their suits or whatever was pathetically rubbish. There were lots of just stupid little bits of dialogue that weren't remotely amusing. Well, so I thought. I don't know. I'm being very cynical about it, but I mean, it's like part 1 of Flux. You think, oh, interesting. Part 2 is like boring. Already want to move on to the next series. Now I've got flipping, what's 6 minus 2? 4 more episodes left. I know. And it's like, wow, I'm basically just waiting for the finale at this point. Even though it is the finale because it's a one story. But yes, 297th. But that's if you don't count Sharda. So, 298th. And probably some others. I mean, do you count Scream of the Shulker? Do you count... Well, what about which version of Sharda? Well, the animated one. I mean, not the flipping... I mean, the 2017 version. Not the... Yeah, but that was one episode. You know, they're doing series 17. Oh, sorry, season 17 on the collection thing now. Re-releasing series 17. Well, there's no series 17 right now, is there? So I can say it. But that's, you know, they're putting Shard on there, but they're dividing it into 6 parts, whereas the animated one currently, as it is all one episode. I mean, you just stop watching it every 24 minutes. It gets more animated as it goes on. I mean, in a way, and less animated in a way. I mean, it becomes, you know, the bits that were actually filmed. They filmed all the bits in Cambridge and the old Professor Kettlewell, or what is he called? That's from Robot. I can't remember his name. Professor Chronotis. Him, something like that. They film, you know, those bits. They didn't film the bits on the spaceship. Anyway, so in conclusion, yes. Sorry, I mean, this sort of stuff. If you want me to talk about the story right after I watch it, you know it's going to be the sort of laboured, tired thing. I'd rather talk about Donkey Kong Country now. There's a good game. Honestly. Aquatic Ambience, brilliant. You know, Sticker Brush Symphony, or is it? But that's my point, DKC2. If you try to look it up, lots of people call it Sticker Brush Symphony. But it's called Sticker Bush Symphony officially, right? But it's been called Sticker Brush Symphony for some reason. There's been loads of places. No idea. Not really a symphony. I mean, where's the flipping, you know, the exposition, development, recapitulation? Not much of it. It's pretty good though. Everyone always loves it. There was a really good orchestrated version of that I heard not so long ago. And you know, someone's done for DKC, well, the original SNES trilogy and Super Metroid. You can find restored versions of those themes, the music for the games, because obviously the SNES soundtrack compressed a lot of it. You can find some people have probably one person got the original samples and remade it all high quality. I mean, the funny thing is, most of it is like you can't really say it sounds. It's bizarre. It's like I don't know, because if you listen to like a cover of a song, not that I ever really do, but you know, or like a remix, or if you hear like an orchestral piece and then you listen to, you know, another version, it'll sound a little bit different. Maybe the conductor has a different view of how it should go, and I think we've got a bit off topic. I'm just saying, you it won't sound as good. You'll think, oh, it's not what you're used to, you know. But with this sort of thing, where it's a restored soundtrack, you can't say it's not what you're used to in a way because it's the exact same unless they've recreated it wrong. It should be exactly the same, but in high quality. It's like dead one of those, whatever. Anyway, so you know. But the funny thing is, I thought the Brinstar theme from Super Metroid, you know, the grassy you know, when you're like going down the lift and it starts playing, getting louder, that theme. I've heard the original obviously tons of times. I thought it sounded better than the restored version, but maybe that's just 'cause I've never heard it before. So anyway, in conclusion, if indeed a conclusion is really necessary, lots of things I could say, but basically, War of the Sontarans, it was okay. I don't feel a desperate need to watch it again. It really wasn't that connected to the first story, that's my point. The first story had lots of, well, the first part, I mean, sorry, had lots of bits where it was cutting random things that didn't make any sense. And I assumed that they quickly edited it together, or maybe not that quickly, but, well, probably ultimately. They still, I wouldn't be surprised if part 6 isn't finished yet. They've always done right at the last minute, basically. Planet of the Dead was finished 2 days before it was shown. What's it called? The Doctor Falls wasn't finished till, you know, last week. It's shocking, you know. You think they're all done way in advance, but no. Anyway, I mean, obviously, I can't believe the specials are done yet for next year. I mean, I doubt the first one is even, but there's no way the other ones are. I mean, are they filmed? I think they've been filmed. Anyway, well, I'm looking forward to series 14. Anyway, let's see. So what was I saying? What was Sontarans? Yes. Yes, it didn't really connect to the first episode. I think you pretty much could just watch this by itself, but you've got to have some oomph, you know? A story's got to be, it's got to be a good story, good characters and mystery, and it's got to have like as well as all that good, storyness and good flowingness and the sense of mystery and everything slowly not making sense and then coming together. Like that motion specifically, you've got to have, or maybe that. It's like different ways of close packing, if you know about solid state physics. Anyway, well, maybe not. Hexagonal or the other one. Anyway, it's got to have an extra oomph factor. Now, as we all know, The Waters of Mars is the best story ever, and I mean, it's just a fact. And my god, that story, the last sort of 10 minutes of that, I mean, the last 15, well, the whole thing, apart from the bit with the Dalek, the rest of it, phenomenal. But the bit where the Doctor comes back into the base, up to the bit where it shows like Mars from a distance with the quiet little music that coincidentally plays around the bit with the Dalek, it's just amazing. All the strange creatures starts playing. It's brilliant. That's what you want. It's like, no, that's what I call Doctor Who. It just starts playing that, and the Doctor's going in and he's saving them, and he's going a bit crazy, and it just keeps having all these great moments. We're not just fighting time. Wait, no, that's not what it says. It says we're not just fighting the blood, we're fighting time itself, and I'm gonna win. It just zooms in because it's Graham Harper, so he has to zoom in on him every time. And then you got to the bit where the flood starts screaming. That's that weird bit where Maggie Stone, is that her name? I can't remember. Andrew Stone, Maggie Kane, or whatever I was going to say. I haven't watched it for like a week or two, I don't remember. Last time I watched Was of Mars was probably, well, fully was a while ago. I don't usually watch, them fully entire. I skip around a bit if they're on iPlayer. I have watched every story in the series 1 to 5 at least 6 times. I mean, obviously, I've watched Midnight at least like 12 times. Anyway, but I probably watched Midnight more than Waters of Mars, actually. I would imagine, so yes. Oh, speaking of Midnight, I love a bit about this story. There was a bit in it where I figured, the thing about oomph, I was going to say, okay, well, it's just that you've got to have an extra thing, as well as all the brilliance, because a story like Androids of Tara is great, and the extra thing is probably, I like the bit of the Doctor being on holiday, but, it's more, I don't know, I'm just saying, you've got to have something in particular where you can say, oh, this is the story where this happens, and this bit's really good, a good set piece or something. Like in Partners in Crime, where the Doctor and Donna are looking at each other, yeah, like that. Um, and so, it's better done in the revived series, these sort of factors. And so, this story, I'm just saying, Chibnall generally isn't very good at them. Power of 3 was okay with it, and Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, the pre-title sequence was pretty well done, I thought. I mean, it was so fast that it was a bit like you could miss how good it was, I thought. It was too fast in a way. Well, it's just that, you can easily just sort of speak over a bit or miss not paying so much attention and miss the fact it's doing all this stuff. Well, sort of. I mean, come on, it's pretty good though. When the door opens, dinosaurs on a spaceship. It's brilliant. Anyway, so this story, nothing good about it whatsoever. It was rubbish. Well, no, it was brilliant, but no, it's 6 out of 10. I'll give it a 6, But it didn't really have much oomph. The oomph was the bit where the soldiers, they were running towards each other. That was like the trailer shot, that was the thing. And I like the bit of the Doctor walking around the TARDIS and she can find the doors, like it's like an antechamber where, there's that bit of the room where the room just keeps on changing. Well, that's the whole game, basically. Antechamber's pretty good, but once you get the guns, it sort of loses itself a bit, I always think. It just sort of becomes a bit more of a standard game at that point. It's more fun when it's like a mysterious sort of walking around experience. Oh god. Anyway, so yes. Oh, and the thing about Midnight I was going to say about this story. Yes, there was a bit where the Doctor and Daniel, whatever it's called, Lewis, or was that the actor? I can't remember. Anyway, Mr. Bishop, were they started talking at the same time on the screen. There was no lag on the screen, I guess. Oh yeah, the Sontaran screens on the ship were like a bizarre vertical aspect ratio. just to fit with Dan's filming style. That's lucky for him, but it's like, why would they have screens of that? It's like any time in Star Trek or anything, when aliens have screens or any sort of futuristic space screen, it's got to be like a hexagon or something. It can't just be a big rectangle. It's got to be like some weird shaped thing, to look futuristic, because it's style over fluid substance, yeah. Like in Dark Water, when Danny Pink's gonna erase his emotions, and it's not like just beep erase. It's like a big flipping flashing red button. That's their flipping user interface, is it? At least in World of Life and Time, they've got the handles, and they say that's what. Well, it doesn't inhibit the emotions. The emotional inhibitor chip, like in the Earth chip, inhibits the emotions from Age of Steel. But I think they say in World of Life and Time the helmety bit of the Cyberman head stops you complaining about it, even though you still feel it, but the emotional inhibitor stops you feeling it. It's interesting. That's a really good story, I mean, sometimes you watch episodes and you think, maybe I don't even care about this anymore, but I watched that, World of Love and Time, and it's like, wow, this is just brilliant. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to do a story like that, you think. Just make it a sort of dark, spooky story with some fun bits in it. Sort of thing Moffat couldn't really do between series 5 and 10. I mean, he was great up to series 4, and then you get the 11th hour, which is sort of 6 out of 10 as well. And I know you could all say, all of you, whoever's watching this, 11th hour, 10 out of 10. But you're wrong, it's a 6 out of 10. It's a weird fact. I mean, the moment you point that out to someone, they immediately their brain wants to reject the idea, but they slowly succumb and eventually they realise, yes, it's a 6 out of 10. Anyway, and then we had, I think I've enjoyed this too much. Anyway, and then The Beast Below, which, the first time I watched it, I thought, worst story ever, 4 out of 10, genuinely, when I first watched it. Well, it was 2010, April. Anyway, but then, I thought it was okay when I last was looking at it. And then Victory to Daleks, which is okay as well. I mean, it's not terrible. Honestly, sort of thing, when they came out, you think they're rubbish, but in hindsight, looking back at them, they've got some fun little moments. Anyway, I'm not quite sure what. The point I was making about that was, Moffat didn't write anything good, really, did it? Well, Heaven Sent's brilliant. Day of the Doctor's pretty flipping good. And as I said, the series 10 one. But I mean, I'm just saying, between that, Listen is okay. Dark Water's really good. Death in Heaven's dull. Well, I mean, my view, I mean, I love every story to some extent just because it's Doctor Who, but that's sort of cheating. Anyway, so, I mean, yes, I'd rather watch even the worst stories of Doctor Who, I would rather watch than lots of other programmes, just because at least you get the title sequence, you know. You know what I don't like though is stuff like in Attack of the Cybermen, was it, where it's like 23rd of November and they're really fluent going on about that, and it's like, oh, fluent Totter's Lane. It's so dull when they, it's not even like doing references like that too much. It gets dull quickly, but it's not even interesting because it's still classic Doctor Who. It's not like an anniversary even. I mean, Attack of the Cybermen series 22. Why bother? It was first episode series 22. And it's rubbish. Anyway, but then, not to mention, I haven't even said series 6 awful all the way through. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm too tired. I'm sort of rounding off my opinions, but I mean, Wedding with Over Song, pretty rubbish. Pretty and rubbish. Especially Amy. No, hang on. Series 7, it was a bit better than series 6, obviously. Name of the Doctor, though, rubbish. Although I like Bells of St. John quite a lot. It's a good story. I actually really like that one. It's quite an RTD type story, I thought. I like the bit where the Doctor's sort of stalking Clara. That's in Rings of Akadan. He's stalking a little girl at a graveyard. Anyway, and then, it's so bizarre. That's fine, is it? Him just doing that. Oh my god. And then, yes, but in Bells of St. John, she's looking out the balcony window, and he's down there from Romeo and Juliet. I like the bits, though, where they run into the TARDIS. It's like, yes, it's a time machine. Yes, it's bigger than inside. No, I don't have time to talk about it. I mean, it's bigger, actually bigger on the inside. So that short hops are difficult. You mean we've moved away from the plane? Haha, not exactly. That's not what they say. They say something else, don't they? You say, we've flown away. It's a spaceship, we've flown away from the plane, not exactly. He goes, haha, not exactly. And there's a really terrible cut. I mean, it's all trying to look like one take, but when Clara zooms past the camera, you can see it just sort of cuts. It was really badly done, I thought. Well, I've watched it many times. That episode in particular, Bells St. John, there's so many previews of that, and they had the bit where he changes his clothes, and I'm sure they had another bit. They didn't have the bit where he rides up the shard, I don't think. That wasn't previewed. I remember reading in Doctor Who magazine, they said he did a rather improbable stunt. Anyway. That's a good story though. Even apart from the fact, well, they used the same bit of music twice in a row. You know, the you know, the flipping victory theme sort of stuff as he's riding up the shard plays again. I like how it's all like the earth is red and then once he fixes everything it goes blue. And this is a green, but it's like, oh, that's the evil Wi-Fi colour, is it? Yes, Bears of St. John, a fantastic story in many ways. It's nicely paced. Bit stupid how Clark just clicks the flipping bad Wi-Fi buttons, idiot. I like the whole flipping her password being the one you clever boy and remember 1 2 3. You know, one and then it shows her for the first time, two second time. That was quite well done. Although imagine if it had been 1 2 4, like she accidentally times it. That would have then he would have had to go back and meet the third one, and it would have been really out of order. And bang out of order. And then what's it called? The bit where she says Clara Osborne Oswald, and she says just Clara Oswald. What was that middle one? Why bother? She's called Oswin in Asylum of the Daleks, so he assumes that's her middle name. Why bother? Why wasn't she just called Clara in Asylum of the Daleks? It's like that one version of her, that splinter of her time stream thing from going in was called Oswin, but all the rest of them were called Clara. Doesn't make any sense. Just another plot hole. Wow. There's lots of things that don't really matter. I mean, if you look at the whole Silence plan in series 6 and 7 and 5, I guess, it doesn't make any sense ultimately, of course. But I mean, no story makes any sense if you really look at it. Why do the Weeping Angels stick around Western Rumblings and Blink? Why don't they just go around and get anyone or whatever? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Why have a stupid pre-title sequence that goes on for 5 minutes? 11%, or if you're not sure about percentages, 9% of the story in Angels Take Manhattan, and it's not anyway because I bet it isn't. How long is it? Not 45 minutes. I can't believe that. It's probably 42, 44 minutes. Yeah, so not even. You know, it probably is 11. Maybe it is 11%. Anyway, well, I don't know. 5. Yeah, still 11.36%. Not 9%. Anyway, I'm just saying. Angels Take Manhattan. It's all right. Blink is obviously just fantastic. I mean, just say the title and everyone knows it. It's brilliant. Not as good as Human Nature and Family of Blood. Well, I thought it was better than Human Nature, maybe. But not as good as Family of Blood, maybe. But, I mean, they follow on. And in fact, when I scored them, I actually scored Blink. I used to say the title quickly, I just said Blink. Just ahead of Human Nature, Family of Blood. But, I mean, they follow on anyway, so... You could... I think it was the other way around, actually, because Family of Blood was better. It's just that scored higher, but they follow on, so you can just watch them anyway. Doesn't matter. I mean, they're brilliant. They're both incredible. You know, but one of them's a standard, well, not a standard story, but more of a standard story. Blink is a bit of a great special occasion. It's odd though because it seems quite simple what was good about it, and yet they can never do it again since. Got the director back in for series 9. I mean, specifically different story, and it's obviously not as good though. But I mean, that's down to the script. It's what matters. Anyway, yes. 11th Hour, 6 out of 10. War of the Sontarans, also 6 out of 10. Well, yes, but I mean, you might say, well, they're as good as each other. I guess 11th Hour is probably better in some ways, but to be honest, I mean, maybe, but I mean, you know, I'd probably give, well, I don't know. No, I'm trying to think of some, I can't remember, some first Doctor story that's sort of 6 out of 10. 10th Planet, I'd probably give that 7 nowadays. No, I don't know. Abominable Snowman? I quite like that one though. I've always liked Abominable Snowman. I like the book of it. And then the book actually has snow in it, unlike the episode where it's all flipping a footprint on the grass. Okay, well, story like The Mutants maybe is 6 out of 10. Day of the Daleks? Maybe. 6 out of 10. The point is, I'll tell you what, Planet of the Daleks, I'd probably give that a 5 though. But my point is, a classic story getting a 6 out of 10 is nothing like a revived series story getting 6 out of 10. because they're totally different, but they still get the same score. And in the same way, I give 11th Hour and War of the Sontarans the same score, but 11th Hour is definitely a bit better, but it's so much later. Anyway, so in conclusion, as I keep saying, War of the Sontarans. I'm not sure. I think I was supposed to be talking about that. I seem to have rambled on for ages and not really said anything, as usual. Yes, so, I don't know. Nice cinematography. I thought the Sontarans were nice. It was obvious Chibnall had just watched Time Warrior recently because they mentioned links and all that, planting the flag in the ground and stuff. That's a good story. Time Warrior. Seriously, watch that one. I mean, I assume you've watched every story, right? Otherwise, why are you watching this? Pathetic.